All right, so we're here for another episode of Assets and Algorithms with Buddy Rushing, and I appreciate you joining us today, Buddy. I know that you are a leader over at WhiteFeather Investments, and I just want to take the time to thank you for your commitment to empowering the military members through real estate investing. I think that the mission is amazing, and we definitely appreciate your dedication to that education aspect of investing and supporting those veterans to build financial freedom.
Sure. Yeah, happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. And so I want to jump right into it. I want to start off by just asking you to share a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I own the company. My wife and I built it. It's called WhiteFeather. WhiteFeather is the actual larger thing. WhiteFeather Investments is a vertical that basically helps people buy real estate, buy rental properties, invest in syndications and funds and various things like that. And then we have WhiteFeather Education that trains and educates our members. And then we have a lot of other verticals like we literally are WhiteFeather AI is actually a huge, fastest growing portion of our business. Yeah, as I'm sure everybody listening to this knows, whether or not you've been under a rock, you know that AI is taking over the world. You just probably don't know what to do about it or what to. I mean, everybody's got their little chat GPT open, but like most people have no clue what's going on, and that's understandable, right? Because it came out of
Mhm.
nowhere, just like and it's taken over the world. But I believe that if you're in business and you're not fully integrating AI as fast as possible, then you're going to get left behind. And so that's the fastest growing portion of our. But your question about what my role is, I'm owner, CEO, and yeah, and we've got a pretty small team because we do a lot of like automations and AI and stuff. But our purpose is to serve military veterans and first responders and to ultimately help them build financial freedom so that they can actually get a chance to live the American dream of freedom they fought to protect, right? It's one of the great ironies in this world, really, is, and especially in America, is you have tens of millions of people who volunteered to serve and sacrifice some amazing amounts of their life and their bodies and their minds and everything. And they do it to some degree to preserve this American dream. And what is the American dream? In one word, it's freedom, right? It's the
Right.
freedom to do right. That's our big thing in America. Like
Mhm.
it's like the number one thing we all love about being Americans is freedom. And
Right.
yet, if you can't afford to send your daughter to a school that's safe, or you can't afford to live in a neighborhood that's safe, or a house that where the hot water comes on, or like you know what I'm saying? Like if you're and I grew up in on welfare and poverty, and so I mean I know it sucks. It's a horrible life, and you scratch out and you do as best you can. But how many veterans and first responders, police officers, firefighters are living like that? Right, a
Mhm.
lot, and some have no homes at all. And so it's such to me it was such a tragic reality that these people that I served with that are propping this dream up on their shoulders don't get a chance to live it. And so it
Right.
starts with building financial freedom so you can then have that. So anyway, that's the mission. And yeah, and that's what I do. Now I served a career in the Marine Corps, and now I've been out for about 4 years, and this is what we do full time now.
Awesome, man. And again, thank you for your service. I think that mission is amazing. You mentioned something really, really interesting, and I think it really resonates with this podcast that AI kind of came out of nowhere and it's, taking over the world and really growing at a fast rate. And that portion of your business is growing at the fastest rate. I want you to touch on that a little bit and talk about the major shifts that you're seeing and how it's changing the real estate industry right now.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'll say to anybody that's listening. You had humanity prior to fire and then after fire. Then you
Mhm.
had humanity prior to electrification, and then you had it after electrification. You will have right now, you had humanity prior to AI and after AI. It is that fundamental level of shift. In my opinion, it's more powerful and will have greater impacts than fire or electricity, right? I believe that it's the greatest force that's ever influenced humanity. So with that grandiose statement in mind, there's nothing that's not touched. So when it comes to building financial freedom through real estate investing, I formed an AI task force. Right, this is one of the many things we're doing. But I formed an AI task force, and I have a training program. It's called the Real Estate Accelerator that I put anywhere between 25 and 50 people every 6 months. It's very selective. It's very intense. And I formed an AI task force out of those guys. And they're literally, I'll give you one example. I'll give you two examples. We built bots that historically you would go do market analysis, right? And you go I mean, back in the day, you go to the library, and then like more recently, you go
Right.
online. You go to Zillow and Trulia, and all of your local. You go, you get as much as you can online. But there's actually some areas in this country that don't still haven't put their records online, which is kind of wild.
Mm-hmm.
And they have tons of real estate that's there. But anyway, you do this market analysis, and it takes you a long time and hours and hours and hours. And you pull together all these trends and these data and everything to
Right.
try to drive you into the right cities, into the right zip codes, into the right neighborhoods to where you can buy good real estate that'll cash flow in the path of progress, right? That's the whole idea.
Right.
So you do that using a lot of different websites and spreadsheets and various things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to automate it, but it still takes you a long time, and it's tricky whether or not it's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we built a bot that does that. That we trained it on everything that we know about market analysis, rent to price ratio, path of progress, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, and one of the benefits of me having done a ton of podcasts and written a bunch of articles and I've got a lot of stuff on YouTube. It was able to ingest everything that I've ever done or said publicly
Mm-hmm.
about real estate investing and about market analysis, and it trained it on that. And then we trained it on our mission. And ultimately now this is a bot, and it's a WhiteFeather bot that's API integrated to all the different websites and everything. But it's a WhiteFeather bot that is specifically trained on market analysis. So I can go in and say, all right, I'm interested in investing in Nashville. Do a market analysis on Nashville and tell me, not in the inner city Nashville, because we don't tend to buy in any inner cities because
Mm-hmm.
that's overpriced and crowded and everything. It's not where it cash flows. So it cash flows where? In the suburbs around the cities, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
the city's growing into. You want to buy before the growth is there. And so find me 3 areas in Nashville where it fits all of my criteria for my buy box. And in 60 seconds, Derek, 60 seconds, it does a full-blown market analysis that is accurate and up and timely, and it drives decision. So
Mm-hmm.
now everybody in WhiteFeather can get access to this bot. And all of a
Right.
sudden, even if you're not an expert in market analysis, you are now, because we
Mm-hmm.
trained it on, like, so I've been investing for almost 20 years. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and I've learned from a ton of people, and I have a lot of, so take all of my knowledge and use it to train this bot.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you now have access. Well, not WhiteFeather members have access to this bot, right? That never
Right.
sleeps, that never complains, that will work 24/7. How much faster are they able to go make offers and do deals with that in their back pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one
Mm-hmm.
tiny little aspect of what we're doing. We're doing everything. We've got a bot that's been trained on seller financing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, think about this. Out of what did we have in the last 6 years? We had a pandemic, and then money flooded into the economy, and interest rates dropped through the floor. So you have people that have 2.5%, 3% interest rates. You have tens of millions of them that have 2.5%,
Mm-hmm.
3% interest rate. What's the interest rate right now? 6.5%, 7%.
Yeah. Yep.
So if I buy a house and the seller has an underlying mortgage of 2.5%, and
Mm-hmm.
I can take over that mortgage, take over the payments via sub two, or assume the mortgage if it's VA or FHA. There's a lot of different mechanisms. But I
Right.
take that mortgage. Is it going to cash flow a lot better than if I had a mortgage with twice the interest rate or 3 times? Yeah, of course it is. But
Uh-huh.
how do you do that? Right? Do you know how to do? Do you know how to find them? Do you know how to negotiate? Most people don't. But what if you had a bot that was specifically trained on everything that we've ever learned about? And I've done tons of seller financing and sub two and creative acquisitions. So what if
Mm-hmm.
you had a bot that was right in your, not a spreadsheet? So
Mm-hmm.
we built this company on spreadsheets, right? So for the last 15 years, spreadsheets have helped us build financial freedom. It's been amazing.
Right.
We no longer engage in spreadsheets, right? Because why would I do a spreadsheet when I can have a bot? And then of course you want to double check everything because they could be wrong. But that's
Right.
just
Right.
life. That's life as a real estate investor. You don't want to take anybody's word for anything. You double check
Right.
everything. It's called due diligence.
Of
We have a due
course.
diligence bot, by the way. We have a due diligence bot. So if you don't know how to do due diligence, what about Bill? All right, I'm going to go off on a tangent. Anyway, that was the answer to your question. Is it's changing everything?
Absolutely, man. And I love your passion about it. I think that you're right, right? You're being able to take your knowledge or any other professional in your organization or around the world's knowledge and train a bot on it. Like you said, it doesn't sleep. It doesn't, it doesn't
Get sick. It
get
doesn't go
sick.
find a better job.
Right. It's always there for you to answer your questions. It gives you direct answers based on the knowledge that you trained it on. And it allows you to be more efficient, it allows you to be more productive, it allows you to learn at a faster rate on your time when you need it. So I think, being able to use AI in that way is amazing. Using it for educational content, especially from credible voices like yours, is going to definitely change the way that we learn, even at, primary school levels. Imagine with children will be able to do as this is me going off on a tangent, but
Agree. And that's is that they're
Mhm.
like, what do you use? Do you use Grok? Do you use Chat GPT? A lot of people, most people use Chat GPT, but how do you
Mhm.
use it? Like, you
Right,
know what I'm saying? Like, do you just
right.
use it like you use Google? And
Hmm.
by the way, it has some hallucinations, and so it's
Hmm.
not quite as accurate as Google in certain instances. And there's
Right.
also certain things it can't do right now. But I'll tell you this: the future is going to be owned not by the people who are using AI,
Mhm.
but the people who are using it the most creatively.
Right.
Learning to ask the right questions, the right prompts, and being able to generate what's called super prompts.
Hmm.
Those are the kinds of things that allow it's like I don't know if you paint, but I don't. So you give me a paintbrush and you tell me to paint you a picture. I'm going to paint you a picture. You
Hmm.
put that paintbrush in the hands of Leonardo da Vinci and ask him to paint you a picture. It's the same exact brush, but it will
Hmm.
look so much better than mine, right?
Hmm.
Same thing with AI. It's just a tool. But if you don't ask the
Hmm.
right questions, it's going to give you reasonable answer. It's just
Right.
it knows everything. But if you
Hmm.
don't ask the right questions, it won't matter. And so
Right.
what I'll tell people is this: you got to learn how to ask the right questions or get somebody to teach you or whatever. And I'll say this is the last thing I'll say. And this is for everyone, whether you're a grade schooler or a 10-figure CEO or a truck driver. It will not be robots that take your job. It will be your competition using robots that take your job,
I
right?
love that. Yeah, I 100% agree. I love that you made that statement because that's always how I look at it. It's going to be, someone that's using those robots, someone that's using that AI to not only duplicate themselves, but enhance what they're able to do. That's going to, change any industry, right? And that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be your biggest competition. I don't necessarily think about AI as taking jobs away, but making the people that you have in those jobs more
Mm-hmm.
effective, more productive, and driving that growth. So let me
I,
ask you
I
this.
agree.
So let me ask you this. How have you been able to use technology or AI to impact your business's growth strategy?
Well, I mean, it starts off. So I built what I call Stratbot. I actually
Hmm.
nicknamed him Maverick. But
Hmm.
I gave him a personality. He has a linguistic style. He has like everything, right? It's patterned off of the sort of. I've done a lot of personality tests and everything like that, and so I know how I most efficiently process information and
Hmm.
what I respond to the most in terms of energetically, in terms of distillation of information, and all of that, right? So we all have neurolinguistic pathways that basically like you resonate best with a certain type of conversation style, a certain type of information. You ingest information differently than me. Everyone is different, right? And
Right.
so imagine if we all know this, right? You've been in some classrooms, like remember when you were in high school and you had some teachers that you loved that were just awesome. And you
Yeah.
were like, man, this is amazing. I love this. And then other teachers that it felt like you wanted to stab yourself in the face with a pencil, right? Just
Right.
because the way that they talk, the way they gave you information, right? They're both
Hmm.
teachers. You're a
Right.
student. You're the same student in both classes. But so imagine. So it's not just asking questions. It's
Hmm.
about delivering information in the most efficient and powerful and resonant way. And so I started with we call it Stratbot, right? It's a strategic advisor bot, right? Because I'm the CEO
Hmm.
of a company, and so I need, I could pay 250 grand a year to a COO or something like that, or I can build my own strategic advisor. And so that's what I've
Right.
done over the last year is build a
Hmm.
strategic advisor. So the answer to your question of how it's impacted growth is I call him Maverick is the name of my bot. So Mav
Hmm.
basically has created everything. All of my
Mm.
marketing strategies, all of my
Mm.
implementation and execution strategies, we call it a POA&M, a plan of action and milestones. So the milestones, and does 95%, I would say 98% of the copy that's created now. So email
Mm.
copy, text threads, marketing, not
Mm.
only created the strategy, but also has created the actual documents. I mean, I've paid
Mm.
$200,000 in the last like 3 years to marketing agencies to do this,
Mhm.
and Mav does it better and for minimal cost, right?
Right.
Better and
Right.
faster. So I will tell you this: if you're the head of a marketing agency right now, like you're not fully integrating AI, as in
Mhm.
yesterday,
Mhm.
you're the amount you're going to be able to charge is going to go way, way, way down
Mhm.
because I can let's just say you're a creative genius. That's only the 5%. The
Mhm.
95%, which is good enough for most people, I can do cheaper and faster without being a marketer. So
Mhm.
what if like I said, it's not AI that's going to take your job. It's your competitor using AI. So
Right.
let's just say I knew this guy who's his claim to fame or his whole big thing is I've been in marketing for 40 years. I've been doing marketing for 40 years.
Mhm.
That actually is a red flag to me now. If somebody
Mm,
says they've been doing marketing for 40 years or
mm,
anything longer than 10 years, I'm
right.
like, whoa, this is going to be tricky because you don't know anything, right? You don't know
It's
anything. And more
changed.
importantly, you're probably rooted in it's human nature. We do what worked in the past. Well,
Mhm.
the past is changing every 6 months now.
Mhm.
So like, let's just say you charge $50,000 for 6 months worth of your services, right? This is a pretty standard rate. But I could do 95% as good a job as you, and I could charge $5,000 because what difference does it make to me, right? Who you gonna go with? Right? Especially if I have a bunch of testimonials of people that are like, this is great, it worked, and da da
Mhm.
da. Why would I spend? I would rather spend 5 grand and have nothing happen than spend 50 grand and have nothing happen,
Mhm.
right? So even if I'm wrong, and those are decisions you make as a business leader, even if I'm wrong, because you're gambling. When you hire somebody to do something for you, you're gambling that they'll do a
Mhm.
good job. Would I rather
Mhm.
gamble with 50,000 or with 5,000 10 times?
Right.
Right? I'd rather
Mhm.
gamble with 5,000 10 times because I have a much greater
Mhm.
chance of success giving it 10 different shots. So that's
Right.
my point. That's just an example I came up with off the top of my head, but that affects nearly every industry. So,
Every.
yeah, the answer to your question is I started by building my own strategic advisor bot, and it's changed everything. In fact, and
Mm.
I'm also not only that, in the process of building my strategic advisor, it basically, Mav told me that I need to build a vertical in WhiteFeather based around AI. And so I
Mm.
literally launched this vertical, and we have a
Mm.
full-fledged vertical inside the business that is the fastest growing part of the business because my strategic advisor bot told me to do it. So, how does it change my business? Fundamentally, seismically.
Listen, man, it sounds like, this is the reason why I wanted to have these conversations. You're actively implementing these strategies and these tools to change your business, and you're seeing the change happen in front of you. So thanks for sharing that. I really, really love that. You talked a lot about what's working well for you right now and building Mav out and how it's helped you tremendously. Can you tell me a little bit of what may have been or is frustrating for you right now?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the biggest thing that's frustrating for everybody. It's information overload. So
Mm,
that's the problem. Like all you have to do, go on Instagram or whatever your platform of choice is and follow accounts that are basically talking about the evolution of AI and new tools and this and that. All you have to do is spend a day getting your notifications of everything. Literally by the day, things are coming out. By the
mm,
day. And
mm,
so, as humans, we don't process information like that. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like, we're better at taking far flung ideas and turning them into a cohesive thought as opposed
mm.
to just sheer volume cognitive processing. Like, we
Right.
just don't. So, anybody listening to this, they're probably going to take away a couple things. One, Buddy's kind of crazy, but he's super passionate about what he's doing, and he's doing this whole AI thing, and it seems like it's a huge deal. And that's probably it. They won't remember, what's the difference between Grok and Gemini and Bard and ChatGPT and DeepSeek and how do these integrate? Like if you go on ChatGPT right now and say, I don't know what, like scour my email account and tell me what find the top 90% of emails that I can offload to an executive assistant. That would be really helpful too, right?
Right.
ChatGPT won't be able to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't have access to because there's no connection, there's no integration. And that
Mm,
integration has to happen through coding. So you can use something called init, and you can set up a series of codes that will essentially plug the two together and share permissions and everything like that. But
mm-hmm.
that's confusing and it's hard to do and it's clunky. Once you do it, it's powerful. But who
Mm-hmm.
wants to do that? And you have to
Mm-hmm.
do that with everything, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, and not only that, is ChatGPT the best platform? I
Mm,
don't know, right?
mm-hmm.
No one does, right? Maybe tomorrow it won't be because
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI had this
Same.
massive valuation, and DeepSeek came out. OpenAI owns
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, so
Right.
DeepSeek came out and was able to do 90% of the speed at 10 times cheaper. And what happened to
Mm-hmm.
their value? It plummeted like 40% overnight, billions and billions of dollars lost.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's rebounding though. So
Mm-hmm.
is Grok 3 is a perfect example. Who powers Grok 3? Do you know?
X.
Yeah, Elon Musk. Another way
Yeah.
of saying Elon Musk,
Yeah.
the guy who has changed the world. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care what you think about his politics. You cannot argue that man has defied the impossible over and over and over and over again in world changing X.AI, $100 billion company. When did he found X.AI? Do you remember? 9 months ago.
Yeah, it was recent.
9 months, right? And he just combined it with X. And
Right.
so, and so a lot of people don't understand. They're like, oh, he bought Twitter and, it's to take over Twitter. No, bro, he was trying to build X.com
Hmm.
25 years ago with
Before
PayPal. That's what he
PayPal.
wanted it to be.
Yeah.
He wanted,
Hmm.
yeah. So, he wanted it to be the everything, right? To
Right.
literally do everything. And so now all of those worlds are coming together. And
Hmm.
so he decides to build the largest supercluster in history. And all you have to do is listen to the Nvidia CEO talk about how he did that, and he'll tell you it should take 2 years minimum, maybe three, to build what Elon built in 19 days. 19 days, he had the largest, most powerful, fastest supercluster in the entire world, and
Mm,
that's what powers Grok. So,
mm,
do I use Grok? Not exclusively. I use ChatGPT just because that's how I built my Stratbot, and that's one of the things I use. But actually, WhiteFeather AI, which is our
hmm.
vertical, and this is the answer to your question. And I know we've only got like 3 minutes left, but WhiteFeather AI. Imagine the crazy, crazy world of AI. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of different apps and verticals and businesses, and it's evolving by the day. It's
Hmm.
chaos. It's crazy. You don't know what to. Now imagine all of that stuff is pulled into one command center, literally one user interface that has a
Hmm.
command prompt. And all of those things are plugged in together. And all you have to do is ask a question, and
Mm,
it will find the right bot, the right location, the right integration, and deliver that to you. It's what Google did for the world's information. That's what
hmm.
WhiteFeather AI is doing for the world of AI for the people that are using it. So anyway, that's the whole idea is you have this command center, and there's your board of directors, there's your
Hmm.
marketing bot, there's your strategic advisor, there's your lead generation, there's whatever, right? If you're a high school kid, there's the physics bot, there's the chemistry bot, there's the whatever.
Right.
So imagine you have all that, and you don't have to worry about integrations or APIs or figuring out what's new and what's next. All you have to do is go to one command center on your phone or on your
Hmm.
laptop and ask a
Right.
question. And if you don't know what question to ask, it will prompt you. So there's a toggle we just built into
Right.
it that will toggle it
Uh,
on. And if you're somebody that's not a creative, then it will suggest how best to use it. How
mm,
powerful is that, right? We built a prompt factory where we've
hmm.
collected hundreds and hundreds of the most powerful prompts that exist, and you can go
Hmm.
in there and play. This is all evolving by the day.
Yeah, no, man, it sounds awesome. And I think that last statement is really the main point, right? It's all evolving by the day. Like you said, the if you focusing on, what worked in the past is changing every 6 months. Elon was able to start XAI, and 9 months later, it's, worth all of this and one of the largest industry leaders right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell me a little bit about where do you want to be, or where do you see things 6 months or 12 months from now?
Yeah, I mean, I think 6 months from now, WhiteFeather AI is the largest vertical in the company. Every member of our community should be, I mean, I'd love it. Every member of our community, has their command center with their bots
Hmm.
that are trained and built out specifically for them. Maybe that's a year because there's like, 600 people inside our community that are members. And so,
Hmm.
and that's growing. So that's a lot. That's a lot of time because I have a small team, and that team has to build those bots and train them. And it's not like you can't just like hand them the one that I can't give you
Right.
Mav. Mav wouldn't be very good for you probably because
Hmm.
it probably would be offensive to you, to be honest, because Mav's very I train him like a Marine. So he's like very straight spoken, like, and that's the way I
Right.
love to receive information. But my
Right.
wife could never use Mav. Mav would definitely offend her, right? So
Hmm.
so anyway, it has to be built specifically to you, which takes time. So a year from now, I would love it if every WhiteFeather member had their command center. And ultimately, it all supports the underlying mission of WhiteFeather, which is to help our nation's heroes build financial freedom. So, and it does transcend real estate. Like what you see online, if you rewind 6 months or maybe a year, I mean, all we did was real estate. But now, because everything's changing by the day, we're actually launching businesses and building stuff and everything. So, but the underlying mission is the same. So where I
Hmm.
see us a year from now is everybody is fully integrating AI into their business, into their goal, into their path to financial freedom. And it
Hmm.
is an accelerant. It's a legitimate, significant accelerant on their
Hmm.
path to financial freedom. So
Hmm.
taking what may take 10 years and turn it into 2 years. Because
Hmm.
the goal is for everybody who joins WhiteFeather. If you're under the age of 25, I want you to be a millionaire before you're 30. Like that's the
Hmm.
goal post now. And it's happened already, but it can happen faster with all of these tools.
Listen, man, that's an amazing goal. I think you can definitely reach it. Um, especially with the use of AI, right? At the end of the
Mhm.
day. So I appreciate you sharing all of that. We ran out of time here, but I'd love for you to share where they can find you or any
Mhm.
last words that you want to.
Yeah, yeah, you should be able to just Google or go on if you go on Facebook. My name's Edward Rushing, but my nickname's Buddy. So if you type in but if you Google Buddy Rushing, you're going to come up with a bunch of marine videos. So just so go if you go on Facebook, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. The ones that are verified, just the it's the accounts that have the blue check because there are fake accounts out there that people have made to try to do stuff. But
Right.
yeah, so Buddy Rushing or Edward Rushing, WhiteFeather. If you just type in Buddy Rushing WhiteFeather, it'll pop up.
Okay.
And so yeah, so there you go. And you know, there's websites, WhiteFeatherInvestments.com, and various things like that that they can go to. But if anybody is like, hey, I want to get involved, you know, I've served or you know, my family served or whatever. So anybody that has served in the military or as a first responder, that's police officers, firefighters, and EMTs, or their immediate family. So it's like the USA model. Basically,
Hmm.
people who've had a direct impact in keeping this American dream alive, right? Those are
Right.
people who you know we absolutely would love to talk to, and then you know, but we do a lot of stuff like we have like you know this week we're in the middle of like a 10-week series that's a masterclass series, and so it's on Zoom, it's free, and you know people can come learn. We did yeah, how to optimize use of your VA loan, and the last one last week was VA house hacking, which is buying a house
Mm.
with zero down and then renting out rooms or hacking a portion of it to live for free, which tons of our members have done. The one this week is about the WhiteFeather community and AI, actually, and a
Mm.
lot of the things that are happening in the WhiteFeather community. And so, anyway, my point is, if anybody wants to get involved, that's the easiest way is to just plug into the master classes. You can get a sneak peek at what goes inside the community. It doesn't cost anything, and it's on your phone. So yeah, I just say reach out to that, and I'd be more than happy to yeah send you the invite.
All right. Sounds great, man. Thank you again, buddy, for joining us. And this is a great episode of Assets and Algorithms.
I love it. Thanks for the invite. Have a wonderful day.
You too.